Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and this is episode 322. We're recording it on the 13th of December, 2019. You're watching it on the same day, because we just had to get the Game Awards results in, and there was some exciting free-to-play news on that front. We're going to take a look at Fortnite and Google, and then look 10 years back at some fun statements made by those in the free-to-play and MMO industries. And then we'll take a look at the first look that was and the first look that wasn't before we cap it all off with just a few bombs, but all of you had games you wanted to see a sequel made for. So we've got a ton of feedback there. Getting into it with me, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and I'm easy.
Yes. Well, there's an out-of-context statement to start the show with. Q, how are you?
Unlike Jason, I am not easy. I do have standards.
Oh my god, both of you are killing me already, and we're 2 minutes into this show.
Y'all started it.
I think we need to redeem it.
We need to actually put like the pre-show up sometime. Oh god, no.
Yeah, need a little redemption. All right, now that we have brought it all back and we're okay now, let's slide over and get started with the news.
Are we going to get, like, content strikes now because we put him up there?
Oh, that's a really good question.
No, he didn't make any noises. So
okay. No noises he made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought the meme that said Baby Yoda's first word will actually be his second word was pretty clever.
That's good.
All right, so let's start right into it. The Game Awards were last night. Jeff hosting. All the faces were there. Reggie and Kojima and everybody you can imagine were there, as always. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it and you've been staying away from any news sites because you want to watch it and when you have some time, you probably want to turn the cast off now or fast forward a bit and then come back after it, because we're not going to hold back on saying who won different awards and things like that. And forgive us if we drop a little bit out of the free-to-play realm here. There was a lot going on last night. So, Jason, first off, let's start with you. I want to get your just take on the entire show. We've seen this show in years past be extremely cringy, in my opinion. At various points, there were performances that just felt disjointed. There were announcements that didn't make sense. And we've seen that off and on since it was, Spike and now, Jeff's project, this is the 5-year anniversary of. What was your overall take of the entire show last night as a tribute to gaming?
I think the only other time I watched it in full was last year, because that was when we started to because previously I was like, okay, yeah, gaming awards, whatever. I'll catch the trailers, right? I don't care about the awards, whatever. Really only watched last year because I thought we might have some newsworthy stuff to do, so I actually watched the whole thing and whatever, caught the trailers and so forth. And yeah, I kind of thought last year it's a little cringy. I don't want to see that much Jeff Keighley in my life. I really don't. He just grates on me for some reason or another. This year, I thought it was a little better. I thought there was less of a focus on him. Last year, he seemed to talk about, this is such a great show. It's so wonderful that I got it all done and so on. I was like, it's not about you, man. It's about the games. And this year, it seemed to be a little better in that direction. So I was not nearly as put off by the whole thing in general. Thought it ran a little long, but once we got to the 2-hour mark and we still had stuff left, I was like, okay, now it's longer than your typical like E3 presentation, which is kind of what I equate it to, and I'm kind of ready for it to be done right about now. But
if you watch the pre-show awards too, the show is about 4 hours long. The show proper, if you don't watch that like hour at the beginning of just some pre-show awards, is 3 hours or so, 3:08-ish, something like that. So you're in it for the long haul, and there is something to be said for not watching it. I didn't watch it last night. I watched it this morning on playback. And there is something to be said for being able to fast forward 5 seconds at a time real quick on YouTube. Q, your overall take on the whole show and its cringe factor, if you thought there was any, the overall awards, the presentation, Green Day's performance, just the whole take it all in. What did you think?
Well, I'm not as opposed to Jeff, apparently, as Jason is. He doesn't bother me at all. So,
Jeff, yeah, it's weird that you say that. Jeff doesn't bother me. In fact, Jeff, if you want to say Jeff bothers me, it's for kind of like the opposite reason. I think he's really dry as a host for things like these. Granted, massive kudos to him for putting it together, keeping it running, you know, and doing it. It's a lot of work. He does it well. But as a host, that's my only gripe, is I think he's a bit dry. You know, it comes off as, all right, let's go to another world premiere.
So we both agree that it should have a different host, just for different reasons.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with Jeff. I have a lot of respect for Jeff. Just personality-wise, I just don't think he's awards show host. Like some of the old stuff on G4 TV, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see him as the host for this. It just, the personality doesn't work for me personally, but I don't have anything against Jeff. I don't, as like Jason does. Q, you sound like you're kind of in the same boat I am. You don't really, you're not a big fan, but you're not somebody that doesn't like him either.
I'm totally fine with him.
Yeah,
I'm totally fine with him. Like, he does not bother me in his presentation or anything. He's fine. I mean, but I kind of find some of the, like, because I don't know if I quit watching normal award shows a long time ago because they just irritate the crap out of me in general anyway. But there's some things I find endearing about this Game Awards versus like the, you know, the cable television Game Awards, like the when they bring in the devs that you could tell have never been on camera before and just so excited to be there, and they're just really happy about, you know, like stuff like that. I just tend to, I don't know, I like it a little bit. I think it's cute. As far as the cringe thing, I think there were only two things that I thought were cringy. One was, that D&D trailer. That was terrible.
Oh, for the...
Oh, it hurt so much.
Yeah, with the, like, elvish character running at the camera. That
but
one.
The camera doing, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was... Well, and the graphics... And see, this is the thing. I couldn't tell if the graphics were bad as well, or if it was just literally that they decided to do this weird spinny running at like that shit, and it just made everything look bad. But it was not great. And the other cringy thing,
Dark Alliance.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
D&D.
I forgot the D&D thing.
Yeah,
the D&D thing. The other cringy thing was the Apex Legends character talking to Jeff
with Jeff and Mirage chatting back and forth.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was kind of funny. Like, I didn't find that part cringy. I'm with you. I did not like the Dungeons and Dragons trailer. And when I was like, oh, cool, D&D title, awesome. Let's wait. What is running at the screen here? That looks awful. Don't run at me. And then, like, the head was just like, it was weird. It was weird. If you didn't watch it, check it out. Yeah, it wasn't that terrible. Great. But I actually
while you still
like
can't
that.
Before they redo the trailer a la Sonic.
Yeah. I actually thought the Mirage Jeff interaction was pretty funny. I didn't think that was.
It was a little.
I thought it was okay for the first minute, and then when we ran out, it was like 3 minutes, and then it got a little.
It was long.
But then they did kind of redeem it because they brought out the Muppet Goose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With Beaker and Professor Honeydew.
And it doesn't matter how stupid something is. If you apply it to Muppets, it just automatically makes it okay.
It doesn't matter at that point.
It's like, if there's Muppets, it's fine.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I accidentally minimized Discord. So let's go through some of the awards. Obviously, the bigger ones. Game of the Year award went to Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, the samurai game. I never played that. Either of you play it?
No.
I knew kind of when that was announced way back when that just wasn't my kind of game. Action game Devil May Cry 5 took home the award. I was kind of surprised by that one, only because its competitors included Apex Legends, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Metro Exodus, which I thought was some heavy action competition. Not saying that it's not deserved. I haven't completed DMC 5 yet, so... action adventure game went to Shadows Die Twice, so we're already noticing a trend here. Art direction Control, and I have never played Control. I am going to buy it based on everything that I saw at the award ceremony. I really want to check that out. I
watched someone stream.
Yeah, somehow I totally missed it. Jason, your camera keeps flickering.
I know, I see that. Are you sure you're not messing with Discord?
Too.
Yeah, it's both
Mine
of us.
does too.
Stop messing with Discord.
I'm not messing with Discord.
All right.
Yeah, see, it's just... That's weird.
At least I'm not alone like I am with the green thing. I'd rather
10 seconds of flickering is better than 10 minutes of green. You know.
Anybody surprised that Call of Duty Modern Warfare takes home audio design? I mean, that series is known for audio design for years and years and years and years now. Community support Destiny 2 won. This is kind of the first free-to-play hit on the news here as far as who won. Honestly, I was surprised Destiny 2 took this.
Yeah. I would have thought it would be Warframe. I think that they were up for it too, weren't they?
Yeah, so not Warframe, Fortnite.
Fortnite. Oh, yeah, okay.
The competition in this category was Destiny 2, Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. So if you notice, there's 3 free-to-play titles out of 5 nominees. That's some heavy competition. And Destiny 2 walked away with it, which I think there was a little more love given to the fact that Bungie is now standing alone and doing its thing, and not as much consideration for how not great the community support actually was when this game launched and all throughout recent time when it was under Activision. This one kind of shocked me, Jason.
Maybe it's a bit of a most improved category. That's what it is, more so.
Could be. So who would you have given it to? Like, if I just said, Jason, here's the 5, who do you guess? Destiny 2, Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege. For community support.
For community, I'd probably go XIV, from what I know of it. Because they always seem to be pretty reactive to talking to fans and so forth.
Yeah, and I might go XIV. You know, if I looked at the category and was very clear that it was the community team that we were judging here, I'd be with you because their tech support sucks ass. It's just
sure. Yoshi P can't do anything about that. It's a lawyer's fault.
Yeah. So, and I could see Fortnite in there too. It's hard to argue against a team that is somewhat communicative. They do put out all this stuff, this new stuff all the time. There's always some community events going on. Yeah, I could see an argument being made for Fortnite. You would make Apex number 2.
Yeah, because they've also been pretty good about. I mean, you'll see,
you know that's
not part of the community. Yeah, but not part of the community team technically. But you'll even see like Vince Zampella coming on and saying things like, "Hey, we're going to change how this season works or whatever." So they do a pretty good job, I think, of communicating.
Q, were you surprised Destiny 2 walked this one?
Yeah, I was a little bit. I mean, I expected, probably Fortnite or something to get it. Although, again, Apex Legends, I think, would have actually been a good choice too, just based on, well, at least at the beginning, they were super engaged with everybody, right? Where they were really trying to get it out there and push it. They were just super engaged throughout that. So if you, kind of count that, it seems like they might have been, one of the top choices. But it surprised me a bit.
Lots of other smaller awards. I'm not going to go through every single award here. You can watch the show or get a recap somewhere. Content Creator of the Year went to Shroud. I don't think anybody was surprised at that one. I think another kind of surprising one for me, Jason, was Esports Game of the Year. The competition in this category was League of Legends, Fortnite, Overwatch, Dota 2, and Global Strike Counter-Strike Global Offensive, so CSGO. And League of Legends took it. I kind of look at that list and I was like, this is Fortnite or Overwatch. I mean, it just has to be one of those two games with the Overwatch League doing what it's doing. Fortnite literally just had, a huge mega multi-million-dollar payout esports tournament. And then League of Legends creeps in there and goes, no, we still know what the hell we're doing.
I follow the Overwatch League very closely. And it does not belong as the winner of this category. They are not as big as they'd like to be. Let's put it that way. They get a good amount of press, but in terms of just overall numbers, I think they definitely are dwarfed, at least by League of Legends, and certainly by Fortnite. So I might have given it to Fortnite over League, but that's about the only difference I think I'd have made.
Q?
Yeah, Fortnite or League. The other ones are...
A lot of esports awards were given out to certain players and coaches. Luigi's Mansion 3 took Best Family Game. I love that game.
What was on the basically the Nintendo category?
Yeah, Family Game was Luigi's Mansion 3, Ring Fit Adventure, which I still haven't gotten yet, but a bunch of friends keep telling me to get. I go to the gym, so I don't really need, but whatever.
I work out.
Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, and Yoshi's Crafted World. So it was Best Nintendo Game under the guise of Best Family Game.
Even they said that. Even Jeff was like, so yeah, that's
I like Nintendo's chances.
Yeah, that's what he said. I like Nintendo's chances in this category. Best Fighting Game, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Indie Game went to Disco Elysium. Game Direction, Death Stranding, so Kojima's ego just got a little bit bigger. Surprisingly, though, besides that and what was it? Performance, which went to Mads Mikkelsen from Death Stranding as well. That was it on the Death Stranding front. They were nominated for an awful lot, but those were the only two they walked with.
That was something I was certainly watching, and I think a lot of other people were too, from what I'd seen of various other people on Twitter, because Jeff Keighley actually appears as a character in Death Stranding. So a lot of question about how conflict of interest might work in that, but they did pretty well, I think.
Multiplayer game, Q, went to Apex Legends, beat out Borderlands 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, which I was like, I'm all for. I love it, but I was like, oh, Apex Legends, this is going to be a bunch of shooters, multiplayer games, Borderlands, okay.
Tetris.
Call of Duty, Tom Clancy's The Division 2, and Tetris 99.
Hey, Tetris 99 is the most cutthroat of all those games.
It is a blast to play. Apex Legends, free-to-play, walks away with it, Q.
Yeah, I mean, they were, doing reasonably okay, at least in the nominations, and then walking off with some stuff. So
yeah, Apex
it doesn't
Legends
surprise me, though.
Some.
It doesn't surprise me that much, though.
Ongoing game went to Fortnite over Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Apex Legends, and Rainbow Six Siege.
There were a lot of people, at least on my Twitter, that were so pissed off that Final Fantasy didn't get that.
Particularly with this being an expansion year and arguably the best expansion they've done to date. Yeah, I kind of felt a little burnt by the old fork knife there. I didn't like that one, Jason. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, as a continuing game, what does Fortnite do? It adds some new modes, adds some new weapons, and that's all it does every year. So
and they do weird in-game content.
They offer Star Wars and NFL and whatever the heck else. Yeah.
I need to correct myself. Death Stranding did pick up a third. It was the score and music, which that was kind of a no-brainer. The music there was phenomenal in that game. There was music in that game that you're like, I don't like this genre, I don't like this type of music, but the way they implemented it, you were like, fuck, put that on repeat.
Based on what they were showing last night, too, Cyberpunk's going to pretty much be that way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Overall, good night, I thought. I agree with both of you that there really wasn't any huge cringe moments. Nobody said anything offensive, so that's good. We got through a major gaming event or presentation without anybody saying something racist, sexist, or misogynistic, so good on us. We made it 3.5, 4 hours without being total dicks to each other, so that's cool. The awards were good. There were only one or two that I kind of was like, I don't. But even then, Jason, it was like mild disagreement. It wasn't like, whoa, there's no way that game should win. So all in all, I think it was a good night. A good night. Yeah,
I liked it.
We did get some free-to-play announcements. Let's start, Q, with one. We had it ahead of time so that we could have it all queued up and ready to go for you guys and gals the moment it happened. We pushed it live. The Empyrean update for Warframe that has been being just massively awaited by the Warframe crowd totally changes a bunch of gameplay, adds a bunch of new stuff that you've never been able to do before in Warframe. It launched for PC at the awards. I hate announcements like this. I hate that. This always reminds me, and I know this isn't like comparable, but it always reminds me of the Sega Saturn is now available in stores. That announcement at E3 that really ended up pissing a bunch of people off at the end of the day. What do you mean it's available now? So if you were watching the award show and you were sitting there with your popcorn about 40 minutes in and you're a Warframe player, all of a sudden you were like, shit! And you ran to your computer to download the update. But it's now live for PC players, Q.
Yeah, and it I mean, I'm pretty sure that most Warframe players know what they're getting out of it by now, but it's basically, you know, that whole space combat thing, but not like EVE Online pew pew space combat, but you're actually in there managing the people on your ship going, okay, I'm gonna pilot, you go over here and put out fires, you go over here and man the gun, okay, somebody's got to jump out and go over here and shoot these things. And well, while I'm out here floating around in space, I'll just go jump onto this other ship and just really fuck shit up from the inside and then come back. Okay, now I'll get back on pilot and you go over here and do this and you go over there and do that.
I mean, the way it was teased, the way it was presented at the show by a Digital Extremes representative was that, you know, we've done Space Ninjas, now let's do Space Pirates. Yep. And that's exactly what it is. Not available on consoles yet, although you did get the what's the last update's name, Q?
Rising Tide.
Rising Tide, which basically allows you to build the dry docks and
to get ready.
Yeah, you can build the dry docks and the rail jacks. You just can't do the stuff with them yet.
Yep. So you've got that update. You'll be getting Empyrean soon. I don't like announcements like that where it's, hey, all of a sudden it's available. But good on you, Warframe players. If you were savvy about this one, though, you probably could have guessed that this was going to be the day, though, because it was teased that it was going to be in December. Then you kind of look at the calendar and you're like, we're running out of time in December before we hit holidays. The Game Awards are going on. Like, you probably could have put 2 and 2 together. It wasn't as out of the blue as the Sega Saturn announcement, but I don't like quick announcements like that. Big news from Perfect World and Cryptic, Jason, the Magic MMORPG that we heard about 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And for 2 years, I have been sending emails to my Perfect World and Cryptic friends saying, is there any more information? And then it got to the point where, is this still a thing? Because we haven't heard anything. We did finally get a little bit of a trailer. Obviously, it's cinematic, so it's not really indicative of anything we're going to see in game. They're labeling it as an action MMORPG, so maybe more in the vein of a Terra, that type of gameplay. We don't know, but beta signups are available, huh?
Yeah, it is a Magic Legends, and it is a thrilling MMO action RPG set across the iconic planes of Magic the Gathering. In Magic Legends, become immersed in the acclaimed fictional Magic universe as a powerful spell-wielding planeswalker. Ooh.
So we are actually planeswalkers. That's interesting.
Although, now that I think about that, the kind of odd thing about that is it almost makes it feel more like an arena kind of game. There are only a few. I think I don't know my Magic lore that well, but I think there are only a few planeswalkers. So to have like an entire like MMO world, like you said, like Terra, where there's going to be 1,000 planeswalkers running around a city or whatever, that seems a little weird. It seems like it'd be more of a section off kind of game.
Oh,
it's 5v5 or something like that.
Come on, man. In what? Elder Scrolls, were the Chosen One? It's just a bunch of millions of Chosen Ones running around.
Yeah, but Bethesda, and they suck.
Oh, jeez. That was brutal.
Isn't that most games where everybody's the Chosen One?
Yeah, everybody's the Chosen One.
The only game I could think of where they're like, no, you're not actually the Chosen One. You're just a freaking pawn like everybody else here was Secret World.
Yeah, I don't think, ironically, I don't think you were the Chosen One in the Matrix Online either. If I remember right, I don't think your character was the Chosen One, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But yeah, so finally, we're going to be going into beta for that in 2020. You can sign up on the site now to not only get newsletters, but to sign up for beta. It was nice to see this. I do have to ask this question, though, because it kind of dawned on me when we saw the announcement way back when, and maybe we talked about it on a cast, but Are you surprised how long it took to get a Magic the Gathering MMORPG? Like, I would have thought as soon as EverQuest and World of Warcraft got really, really big, Wizards of the Coast was like, dudes, we have, like, this huge fantasy world that millions of people know. We need to get in on that pie. I'm kind of amazed it took this long to get an MMO.
They've had tentative steps in that direction. They've had like not actual the card game, but they've had like online games that sort of simulate some aspect of things. So they've done that sort of thing a bunch of times without actually going the full MMORPG route. So I'm maybe not that surprised, but yeah, I guess maybe by now, like I could have seen like if they did something around like 8 to 10 years ago or something, after WoW had been out for like half a decade or so, then I could have maybe seen it. But yeah, maybe by now, 2019, 2020 almost, maybe that is a little bit long to wait.
All right. Q, any last thoughts on the Game Awards before we switch topics here?
No.
Jason, anything you liked, didn't like?
I hate to say it as much as I always poo-poo just watching a trailer or whatever, but I gotta admit the New World trailer actually got me kind of interested.
Oh, it's funny you said that. So we know now that it is not free to play, and we've known that for a while. Like, we didn't have inside knowledge on it or anything, but all three of us were like, it's not going to be free to play. $39.99 or $49.99 going to come out next year. Am I allowed to say that I was in alpha? I can't even remember. I can't even remember.
Say it, so I guess
and honestly, it just wasn't my thing. Not that it was bad or anything, just wasn't my thing. And then, Jason, I saw the trailer and I was like, shit, I really want this to be my thing. This trailer is so good. Lots of good trailers. I like the Godfall trailer for PlayStation 5. I mean, granted, there wasn't a ton there, but they looked at Hellblade getting a sequel, and that trailer was supposedly all in engine for the new Xbox Series X coming out in holiday 2020. So, yeah.
And then there were the two League of Legends games from Riot Forge.
That's right.
We talked about Riot Forge a few weeks ago. They were going to let third-party developers make new League games, and here they are. Yeah,
and it was pretty much exactly what we predicted on this show, by the way. They're taking champions and filling out backstory for each of those champions. So don't expect them to be free to play, but there you go. All in all, good night for gaming, I think. I think it was overall a good night. Let's move along here. So let's talk about Fortnite for a minute, because Fortnite and Google are having a little bit of a spat over money, which is kind of weird when you think about the biggest game on the planet revenue-wise and the biggest tech company on the planet, basically, money-wise, duking it out over money. This seems dumb, Jason.
No, because you could. This is the same thing when I talk to a friend of mine about like baseball contracts. Who's like, "Oh, we're going to pay the guy $15 million, but he wants $20 million. Isn't 15 enough money?" And I'm like, "There's no such thing as enough money. When wipe that notion from your mind. If I can get more, I will. There's no such thing as enough." This is the same thing. They want more money. Google doesn't want to give them more money. There's no such concept of either of them having enough. So.
Really, we're splitting hairs at this point, though, because the deal
isn't.
If
a hair is worth like $100 million, yeah, sure.
We're talking about percentage points now in the revenue.
A percentage of $100 million is a lot.
Isn't though this like pretty on brand for what Epic's been doing with the whole, okay, everybody's overcharging game developers, and like, yes, it's specifically their game, but at the same time, it just seems really on brand for their entire...
Yeah, but let's not white knight the shit out of this, okay?
I didn't say I was white knighting it. I said it was on brand.
That's a fair point. Jason, I think we should frame this a little bit. What is the argument actually about?
So, just like on Steam, which was talked about before, the Google Play Store offers a 70-30 revenue split. 70% for the developer, 30% goes to Google.
Same thing Steam does.
Yeah, same thing as Steam. The Epic, of course, does 88-12. 88 for developer, 12% for Epic. And what Epic wants is for the Google Play Store to do the same thing. Now, they're saying they don't want it just for Fortnite. The 8812 is what they want. They're saying they don't want it just for Fortnite. They want it as, quote, a general change to smartphone industry practices in this regard. So they kind of want all games to do that. Of course, they figure maybe with their push, they can get it through for them first, at least. So, Q's right in that they are, at least to some degree, trying to enact this as a change for the gaming industry as a whole, at least for the cell phone, Play Store industry or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously some of it is based on them also wanting that better split for themselves.
Yeah, and Epic's actually framing this Q as what they're doing being illegal. All right, this ought to be fun to prove. They're claiming that a 30% fee is illegal because in the case of this distribution platform, Google has over 50% of the market share. And so, it's that whole, you've created a monopoly, I have to use your service, so I'm at the mercy of your fees, and I have no other options. On the flip side, Google's saying, no. No. This money lets them invest in the platform and tools to help developers that are up and coming and everything while keeping users safe. They can't. Q, where the hell do you see this going? It doesn't go anywhere.
The thing about it is, though, Epic's already distributing the game on Android devices, right? Like they're not being skipped over. So they could easily continue and they're talking about like putting the Epic Game Store, I think, as a platform on the Android devices as well. So they could easily just continue to distribute their stuff the way they're doing it and not have to worry about it at all. So, I mean, and that may end up being the way they go, because I mean, I don't know, fighting Google seems a little bit harder than fighting Valve or whoever.
Yeah, just a bit. Fortnite also under fire, Epic under fire by Dancing Pumpkin Man Matt Geiler, who is upset that the pumpkin dance is in Fortnite now. I mean, we already saw Carlton lose on this front. Our argument there being basically what the courts found, or the arbitrator, I don't remember if it was in court or if it just went through arbitration. Hey, you don't even own this dance, so you can't do that.
Yeah.
A little bit of a better argument here. I mean, again, do you really own a dance or anything like that? But this is not Matt saying, I did this on a show, and this is kind of Matt's thing, right? The whole black suit, the pumpkin head, and the goofy dance and everything. But Jason, there is a little wrinkle in this one where Matt may not have a leg to stand on if this goes too far. Yeah,
supposedly he struck a deal with Epic Games to use the character and likeness in Fortnite. So, I mean, you can wonder how much of it, I don't know, there's no detail on how much of a deal it was. Like, it was just kind of a handshake thing. Like, hey, they asked him, he said okay. Or if there was an actual contract signed, if money changed hands. I seem to recall the Floss Kid was in the same situation, I think, that he had an actual deal of some degree with Fortnite, but he still wound up, or his mother wound up suing them or something, so...
Yeah, it's going to be an odd one. We'll watch it. Epic filed a complaint against Matt Geiler that pointed out, hey, we have an agreement to use this. Oh, but by the way, even if we didn't have an agreement to use this with you, our dance is totally different, because that's the claim they bring in, everything.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, this one hand is in a different place, Q, so the dance is entirely different. Oh, this needs to stop. Anyway, let's take a look retrospectively at the last 10 years, because, Jason, you put together a pretty interesting piece on where some top executives thought we would be and should be in the world of free-to-play 10 years ago.
Yeah, I did not intend for this to be this long. I wound up like 2,000 words or something, but...
It's a really good piece. Go to the site and read it.
I just wanted to look back because, a lot of people are doing retrospectives, 2019 and so forth, which I'm going to do in a little bit, big news and whatever. I wanted to go back even further. So I went back to because it's the end of the decade, right? It's the end of the 2010s. So I went back to the previous decade, the aughts, whatever you want to call them. So look for news around like 2008, 2009 to see, okay, what kind of predictions and what kind of things were people saying about free-to-play gaming back then, and how has that come to fruition over the intervening 10 years? And some of it was kind of bad. Like, Like, first of all, of course, back then you still had people going, you know what, Mike, I got to tell you something. You know, you can make money off free-to-play games.
Right. It was still very...
People were still kind of shocked at that. But yeah, a lot of people were involved in this. One guy who got quoted multiple times, who actually was kind of decent. I mentioned Puzzle Pirates a little earlier. The actual CEO of the company that makes that, he had some pretty decent talk about that. Like he said, the registered user metric is not particularly helpful in extrapolating revenue-based success stats. So basically, when a company says we have 30 million people who signed up for our game, he's saying that don't mean shit. And it does a little bit. It means a little bit of something, but yeah, in general, I grant that it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, a lot of the other good stuff came from people like John Smedley. He was in there a few times.
Yeah, John Smedley is mentioned a few times in this article, and Q, I think, not just John, but some of the other people here in this article, I think you get the idea of why we always kind of say on this show, yeah, everybody says that. They have to say that. I don't know. We'll see when the game launches. Because you have a 10-year retrospective now of John Smedley fighting and defending free realms and their like microtransactions and shit. And now you fast forward and we have him on record saying that he hated having to do that and he didn't like that stuff. So it's a very much buyer beware industry still, and you kind of get the idea of why all of us might be a little jaded and say, oh yeah, that new game, the developer's saying this. They have to say that. They always say that. Wait until the game comes out and we'll check. Why we just don't take anybody's word. This piece kind of shows why, Q.
Okay, I missed so much of that because Discord just completely dropped out.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome back.
We're just making fun of John Smedley, that's all.
Well, yeah, and I mean, he's always so earnest, but he makes it so easy.
Well, he's always so earnest, and then you find out he wasn't being earnest. Like
I still remember the interview I had with him about 4 or 5 years ago. He said, "No, EverQuest Next is in vaporware."
Well, in his head, it might not have been.
Yeah, that one maybe.
I on a lot of the time believe he believes that what he's telling you, it's just what he's telling you changes over time, but he believes it at any given time.
Check out the piece. It is a great piece. Very interesting. You'll see why maybe we're a little jaded sometimes when it comes to what developers and CEOs say. Finishing it up, though, you did take a look at a top 5 list from 10 years ago, Jason.
Mm-hmm. This came from Serafina Brennan, who at the time was just a columnist, or I guess a freelancer on the old Massively site. And since then, she's gone on to be a community manager for a lot of different companies. And she listed on April 30th, 2009, her 5 free-to-play MMOs that are ahead of the class. So number 1 was Free Realms.
Yeah, that's shut down.
Yep. Number 2 was Runes of Magic.
That's still around.
Still going, but not very well popular, happy people. 3 was Mabinogi.
I'm pretty sure that's still around.
Which exists, but again, not something you hear a whole lot of. 4th, she listed Dungeon Runners.
That's gone.
And 5th was Shin Megami Tensei Imagine.
That's gone. So, 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Always interesting to look back, and we are not picking on Serafina, by the way. Our predictions are probably much less accurate than the 40%. Oh, yeah, you still have 18 days. I got 18 days for Fortnite Save the World to be made free to play.
When we were talking about the Magic MMO, I actually looked back and actually found out that in 2018 I said we might get to play it.
We will get to play it in 2020. You were close. You were close. You were off by 2.
A year.
No, you were off by 2. You're off by 2. Numbers-wise, you're only off by 2.
There we go. 2 out of 2020. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, right. Before we slide over to the weekly bombs, we put up a first look this week for Kards. It's a collectible card game based on World War II. Jason did a first look on that one. Checked it out. I was on the flip side putting together a first look for Kart Rider, which had a weekend beta. Kart Rider Drift, the new release that Nexon is bringing up in the West all these years later. Decided after playing it for a few hours and talking to Jason, kind of getting his opinion on it, because I was torn, and so I wanted somebody else's perspective, not to do a first look on this particular closed beta. There just wasn't enough there. It was cute. It was kart racing. It was, you know, exactly what you'd expect if you played the old game, Kart Rider. You're fine, or Kart Racer, Kart Rider. You're fine. You know what you're getting into here. Monetization was not anywhere in the game. You couldn't see what they were going to do. You could see, presumably, what they're going to do in allowing cosmetic, you know, doors and wheels and fenders and stuff on your carts, and different victory emotes and costumes for your individual characters. But it was like nine tracks, 3 different characters, like 6 or 7 speed carts, and then 5 or 6 item carts, because there's 2 modes, item mode and speed mode. Speed is just racing, pure racing, item being more of the Mario Kart variety. It was cute. It was fun. I don't know how much I'm going to dig it. You know, the drifting doesn't feel quite as tight as you might want it, so hopefully they'll mess with that stuff. We're going to hold on a first look, though, because that was it would have taken me 10 minutes to go through it, and there would have been so many unanswered questions that we're just going to wait until the next beta phase, or an open beta phase. But, Jason, you did get into Kards and play that. How did that one stack up for you?
I thought it played pretty well. It doesn't take a whole lot of chances. You know, it definitely has if you're familiar with your Hearthstone kind of play, it's kind of similar to that in a lot of ways. A lot of the keywords are similar to that. They do add like a little bit of a directional thing, positional thing. Like if you have a front line, like I've got my guys here, you got your guys there. There's a zone in between that you have to advance to. Only one side can have that zone at a time. That's how you attack the opponent's base, and there are units that are in their support line, and knock down the base to 0 and you win. And that's pretty much it. It's got a good bit of flavor for the different 5 nations you can pick, different 5 major powers from the war, and I like how they really did adapt like the real world aspect of how those nations how they worked in World War II, and they adapted that really well to how they feel in the card game.
The example you gave me while you were just getting it fired up was Japan, right?
Mm-hmm. Japan has a lot of for Hearthstone fans, what we call it, death rattles, an ability that happens when it dies, which again for Japan makes sense. You got the whole kamikaze kind of thing.
Kamikaze of them.
Yeah, whereas like the U.S. has a lot of resources, which makes sense there. Britain is very good at defending its home base. Yeah, again, that kind of makes sense. So yeah, a lot of good flavor in that.
All right, check out the first look, see if it's something for you. Let's slide over and get started with the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
I'm actually gonna give an A-bomb to myself for somehow totally not realizing that they kind of sort of brought Telltale games back.
Yeah, I saw you two chatting about this after the fact, and I was like, that happened a while ago. I mean, it's Telltale by name only, really. It was one of those,
right.
Somebody swooped in and grabbed all the stuff. Not all of it, but they got good pieces of it. But it's not like they brought back the Telltale staff and everything. To me, honestly, when it was bought, it felt like one of those, we're going to try and generate goodwill headlines, making it look like Telltale is back. But really, we don't have any intention of bringing those people. And yeah, it felt kind of slimy to me, the way the headlines read on that one. So it's Telltale, but not Telltale.
I think that happened like right after the announcement too of the of it shutting down.
Yeah,
so that's why that's why I kind of missed it, because there's kind of more Telltale news, just a blur of it coming by. Yep. So,
go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to give a belated A-bomb to Jagex, and an apology to all the RuneScape fans who've come in here. And I've seen it a little bit here and there, people complaining about how terrible RuneScape is now, microtransactions. And I was just like, yeah, okay, get over it. There's microtransactions in the game. It always happens. Yeah, whatever. But actually, having gone back and having done this article that I did with the 10 years ago thing, seeing Jagex CEO Mark Gerhard denounce microtransactions, calling them sadly misleading and a stealth tax. And then 3 years later, he put them in RuneScape, and they've been there ever since. Yep. That is the sort of thing that I would have ripped to shreds if I'd worked on the site back then. I'd been like, he said this 3 years ago, and now they're there, and F this, F that. So, A-bomb to me for not being as up to date as I was on that info.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to League of Legends and Louis Vuitton. This is the stupidest partnership.
The money that you would spend on those clothes, I could buy a new computer with. Several new computers.
Several high-end.
I could buy a car.
Yeah. What a... Oh.
Yeah, but from a gamer perspective.
Yeah, you totally roboted. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what
you
you said there.
But yeah, this is the dumbest partnership that I have seen in a while. The prices are absolutely ridiculous. And the clothing doesn't even look that good. Like, it looks kind of funky and bizarre. Like, even if I had the money and wanted to spend it on that type of product, Jason, this wouldn't be it.
Well, Mike, there's like a t-shirt that just has a picture of a character on it. There's nothing funky or bizarre about it. That's pretty normal looking, and it only costs $650.
Oh, is that all? Just $650.
Yeah.
Whoa, Q's just vanished.
Just teleported away. Oh my god.
Q just vanished. Her screen was frozen with her there, and then all of a sudden it was an empty chair.
$650 t-shirt.
Right.
That was awesome. Q, you have to watch the playback on that.
You're there, and then you're not there.
Yeah, well, my internet decided to just completely up and drop. So
yeah, you have to watch the playback once I put this up of that moment. Go to when we're talking about League of Legends Louis Vuitton and your camera freezes, and Jason and I just, oh, that's awesome. From the viewers, Squeezy says, A-bomb to behavior. I've been busy for the last couple of weeks, and when I finally got some time and decided to play a few rounds of Death Garden, and surprise, surprise, the game is shutting down by the end of the year. I really didn't think this game would be closing anytime soon. Yeah, we covered that on the site there. Jason, go ahead.
That's kind of like, I've had the kiss of death with a few games too, with like Nosgoth or Breach. It's like, I like this game.
Oh,
it's new,
you really liked. I felt bad. You really liked Nosgoth. You were into that game.
Yeah. Conqueror's Blade's still around though. I haven't played it for a while, but that was going to be the next one that I killed. Giovanni Ochoa, great name. Also, Da Bomb for Star Wars Fallen Order and the people that respawn.
Such a good game. I am really enjoying that.
There are too many good games coming out in the next, between then and like the next, over the 6-month period, like October to March.
Yeah, just March alone is brutal on bank accounts. Q, go ahead.
Jeremiah Manson, I noticed my MMORPG ESO doesn't have capes, and I don't like it. I saw that. I saw Battleborn in the bin too. I was 100% positive sure it was canceled too. Da Bomb for ESO for having voice acting. Those fetch and kill quests are no longer a chore for me till I have to level my alt. Love the stream.
Jeremiah, we love you too. Thank you so much for, also... It makes me feel not insane now that I had that 20-minute conflict in my head over Battleborn being in the discount bin. Question of the week. Last week, which MMO needs a sequel badly? Forget about budgets, the companies who have them, how they might screw them up. Just which game warrants a sequel and should have one by now? And it didn't even have to be a number 2. It could be, EverQuest 3, EverQuest 4, and why. Guessley says, after he ribs me for not using his comment on last week's show, I can't put them all in on every show. You did have a good answer. It was good. Says, but now for an answer. I would like to have a sequel to Lineage 2, as it was like 10 years ago. Game was really popular then, not only in the Asian region. Simply every update ruined the game for most players. Not only game mechanics, but every update made the game run worse and more laggy. Now look at it, the free-to-play version is nothing compared to what it was. Logged in, and I was lagging in town with like 40 players. Yes, there is classic, but still not like 10 years ago. Now it looks like every other MMO, holds hands, super newbie friendly, I would say even too friendly, and in-game market looks like a mobile games market. Why would I like it? With improved, better engine, which actually could handle mass PvP for epic or castle sieges, 100 versus 100, 200 versus 200, and even more. I did enjoy them even with 3 to 5 FPS most times. Better graphics, actual big open world map. Maybe times have changed, but in Lineage 2, teamwork was a big part of good grinding XP and PvP. With vast amounts of races, classes, jobs, parties were formed as you needed them with 9 players, damage dealers, raid boss parties, and tanks and healers, and separated DD party, mage parties with buffs and mana regeneration, AoE grind parties, and just so much more. Now most meta is someone who can hold aggro, 1 heal, and damage in one party with 4 to 5 players. And the in-game market was only a few non-gameplay affecting services. I could write more about crafting, grinding spots, raid, and epic bosses, variety of buffs, buffers, supporters, etc., but this is long enough. In one sentence, MMOs nowadays are way too casual and too much based on an in-game market. So, short version, wants a Lineage 3. Jason!
Isn't the Lineage M going to be a thing or something? Or Lineage Eternal, whatever the hell they're calling it?
Oh, you're a Lineage M.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That one didn't work.
No.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right. Nasagar says, I really want a Guild Wars 2 sequel just to see what Arena Net would come up with would come up with if, instead of taking WoW, Guild Wars 1, and other theme park MMOs as the base to innovate on, they took sandbox MMOs like RuneScape as the starting point and innovated on that formula. I think Guild Wars 2 would be in a much better place if it was a sandbox MMO because the larger focus on the non-combat based side skills and systems, like crafting, farming, fishing, housing, etc., give players more side content to do, more reasons to revisit old content for resources, and more places where players can just chill and socialize. Plus, the extra freedom sandbox MMOs usually give players a better fit for the play-how-you-want mentality that the game was designed with originally. They were pretty freeform. Guild Wars 2 was compared to a lot of MMOs out there. I don't think they'd go for the whole like Arc Age farming, crafting as a major part of the thing. And I think that sort of thing is even a bit of a niche. You have to do it just absolutely perfectly, and even then, you're not going to get probably the big numbers that you'd want. So.
Yeah, and don't make promises that you don't keep. And I mean, they could learn a lot from Arc Age.
maybe Mike O'Brien's new company is going to make that. I don't know.
Go ahead, Q.
Squeezy, I would love a sequel for Tibia.
I knew somebody was going to say Tibia when I put this question out there, by the way. This is, remember, Mike Schaffnet was all about Tibia.
Oh, God.
I can't help but to hear that name and keep thinking, well, it's named after a bone.
Yes, that was actually...
The sequel will be Fibula.
First game I ever played, so it has that special dark and isolated corner in my heart. P.S. I had a little heart attack when they announced the Path of Exile mobile, even more so after I used PoE to mock mobile ports and the amount of cash flow.
Yeah, I think we all did. Misfit Rain, this was another one that I was sure was going to come up, and it's kind of why I put the qualifier on the question. Don't worry about budgets, the company behind it, or anything. What game needs a sequel? Because this one will never happen, but I agree should. Misfit Rain says, I would love a Secret World 2. So would I. Love the modern-day creepy supernatural atmosphere. Love the stories in there and the puzzles. This time, though, hire someone like Pearl Abyss to handle the combat, but don't change the class system. Honestly, wouldn't even care if there were no factions in a part 2. Never cared about them anyways. Yeah, I am right there with you. I don't know if Pearl Abyss would be my first choice, but I see why you're going that direction. Just not going to happen. But that's why we took put the qualifiers on the question. Go ahead, Jason.
Calm Down says, Ultima Online. So many attempts, never came to fruition. Sad to think a grandparent of the genre is so doomed to old obscurity. And that's what happens to old shit. It just dies off, people forget about it. That last bit was me.
Well, that was bleak.
It's true, though.
Go ahead, Q.
I did an article on Meridian 59 a couple of years ago, if you remember that, and whatever.
Okay. Giovanni, for me, it's SWTOR. With a sequel, they could improve the combat and the world exploration. And after finishing Star Wars: The Fallen Order, it got me jazzed for more Star Wars.
Well, I mean, just bring Galaxies back, I guess. That would make like 90% of the internet happy, right? I mean, that's all you have to do.
Well, it'd make like 90 people happy.
Jowl says, question of the week, Wildstar. Reimagining it to be more suited to realistic expectations of MMO launches these days. Steep drop a few weeks in, the usual. Maybe refining some of the worst aspects. Elder Scrolls Online also needs to remove itself from the slump it's in. Too streamlined, making new additions just replacing your old gear and skills with equivalent current ones. World of Warcraft, the obvious reason being it could do with more modern graphics, UI, and a new slate to build upon with a more clear vision that wouldn't be destroyed over a decade or more of expansions. That one's never going to happen either. Jason, go ahead.
Cappaw Zero says Global Agenda needs a sequel. There was one announced, I think, but it's never going to happen. Not like it was the best game, and I got in late, but after I did get in for like $10, the game shut down months later. And I just like to get back into the lore there and actually get to finish it.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of good choices given by some viewers here.
I did kind of like it. Although, first of all, one thing I wonder, though, is I'm pretty sure I got into it after it went free to play. So it's like, and then it shut down. So I don't know how you got it $10 and then was free and then it shut down.
So, yeah, lots of good feedback here. Okay, Jason, this one will definitely rope you in. Go ahead, Q.
All right, Jeremiah Manson, PlanetSide 3, baby. No other FPS can touch this game because PlanetSide does everything. Such a fucking shame that it's on life support because of a battle royale. I feel like PlanetSide was part of that hardcore trend, like with MMORPGs, 24-member raids. Only like 3 kinship can finish tier 2 CM raid. And only one person had that golden cloak, and 20 people had first stage weapons in the whole game. Those were the days.
They got you, Jason? PlanetSide Arena or PlanetSide 3?
So I'll have a few comments on that. First of all, only if it's not done by Daybreak. Because I'm not playing their shit again.
Okay.
Secondly, we were talking a little earlier about how
Jason will not play a Daybreak title until he knows who owns that company.
There's that too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is a solid point.
Yeah. And the second thing, another thing is that we were talking about how the chosen one or whatever. Yeah, you're definitely not in PlanetSide 2. You're just another grunt fighting for the whatever. Third thing is, I don't know that it's saying it's on life support because of Arena. It seems like the numbers are still pretty. I think Arena just got ignored. Yeah. I think PlanetSide player tried it for a few days and then left. So I mean, I don't think Arena's got anything to do with how PlanetSide 2 is doing. They said a while back on Reddit that hey, we can keep doing this game for years. We're consistent and self-sufficient enough that it'll be fine. So, but yeah, they're probably not going to do anything major with it.
Question of the week this week, what was your favorite moment, reveal, trailer, announcement, award, whatever from the Game Awards show? Put it in the comments below while you're there. Don't forget to leave your weekly bomb, bomb for something good, bomb for something bad in the world of gaming, or just a question for the panel or your thoughts on anything we talked about on today's show. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Goofing around on Twitter at Quitland.
Jason.
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Baby Yoda. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at magicman1, but more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you all the latest articles like Jason's retrospective 10 years ago. Definitely go check it out. Interviews, giveaways, first look videos, free-to-play cast, free-to-play weekly, and so much more. Until then, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.